Very good. I want to thank, first of all, Senator Welch for filling in for a new guy. He's doing pretty well. Only in Congress are you considered new when you've been here for, 18 years? And then also, my friend Senator Fisher, thank you. I just want to briefly say how important the work you do is. As we know, the EAC was established with broad bipartisan support to, let's get the mission clear, fund to help states improve election administration security, cybersecurity guidelines, very important in the last few decades, and accessibility for voters. And I hear time and time again from secretaries of state on both sides of the aisle how important it is, the work that you do. We know you're confronting new challenges ahead with everything from artificial intelligence to the challenge I know you have been experiencing on, as I've heard from our local officials, of harassment of secretaries of state and volunteers at election places and election officials, regardless of party. So I guess I'd start with you, Vice Chair Hovland, since you used to work for me. Can you briefly expand on what you see as the most urgent needs of states for additional federal funding?
Absolutely. Thank you, Chairwoman Klobuchar. Right now, I think the election community really just faces so many challenges. As I said in my opening statement, I think election administration is more challenging, it's more challenging to administer elections now than it's ever been, and more expensive. And more than one singular issue, I think it's the totality of issues. There's the cybersecurity issues, there's the physical threats and harassment, adding to buildings and the security of buildings, obviously incentivizing recruitment of poll workers. Senator Welch asked about mis and disinformation earlier. One of the things I think about all the time, there's two sides of that coin. There's the whack-a-mole of the falsehoods that you hear, but there's also the voter education piece. And so often voter education falls to the back burner, but that's an integral part of combating misinformation with those debunking pieces. And so getting people money to make sure they have the resources to do that is critical.
Okay, very good. Commissioner Hicks, Chairwoman, just talk about the importance of steady funding and how that would be helpful for the states when you deal with different threats, it appears, every election.
Thank you, Senator Klobuchar. It's great to see you. Having steady funding ensures that states can allow for an adequate budget each and every election cycle. We know that there's going to be a lot of additional costs that are coming down the pike for election officials who want to replace their voting equipment with 2.0 voting equipment. That will probably not be ready for 2024, but as they look towards doing their budgets, they will need a significant amount of money to replace those machines. Every election cycle, there's something that may come up that they didn't budget for. And so they have to look back to see what sort of things they need to pay for as they move forward. No one saw 2020 coming along with the pandemic, but Congress stepped up and provided additional funding to the states.
And Senator Blunt, as we remember, predecessor to our ranking member, also was stepping up at that time.
Exactly.
Exactly. Very good. So you're talking about the election equipment. You don't know each election. Maybe we'll just, because I want to give my colleagues time here, we have several of them here. Could we just turn to that election threat issue and we've heard from Kentucky Secretary of State, just the difficulty of attracting volunteers sometimes to work the polls, and just where you see this coming out. Rural areas not having the funding for as many law enforcement to help these many times volunteer workers at the polls.
Absolutely, Senator. There has been an uptick in safety and security issues across the country. Consistent funding would be quite helpful to the states to be able to provide more security for their election workers. We also want to make sure that the public trusts where the funds are coming from. I think obviously Congress is a trusted source of funding, so there are many reasons for Congress to continue to provide consistent funding for elections.
Okay, very good. Do you want to add anything, Commissioner Palmer?
No, I think the other commissioners said it well.
Oh, wow. That's not what we do around here. So that's very good. Well, I want to thank all of you for your leadership. And I know it's a tribute to how important your work is that we have so many senators here. And we'll